Hello people, I'm Vishikata here. Welcome to part 2 of my Antho tutorial in which I attempt to show you how to put these on your Antho character. If you haven't already seen part 1, do so by clicking the link right here. If you already have, let's begin.
Before we start, I want to mention that over time my method of setting up unguligrade legs has changed. Originally it used to be that I would replace the entire leg from the hip down, such as in this picture, and I used the same approach for the Superstore animation. The downside with this is that often the legs look too thick for the rest of the body proportions. The second method I tried was to replace the leg only past the knee, which does work but still does require a lot of post-processing to hide the clipping. The method I'll go over in this video is where only the foot is replaced, and the advantages to this method are that while it may still require some extra work to blend in with the rest of the leg, it shouldn't be as bad as the other methods. The big advantage, however, is that this method can be used with an IK rig, so it can be animated even easier than the other methods. With all that out of the way, let's begin. Alright, continuing from where we left off in part 1, we have an Antho set up with the head and hair swapped and the tail added. And our goal for this video is to replace the feet with the hooves from the pony model. For this we need to spawn in 2 instances of the pony model because we'll be using 1 for each hoof. We'll also need to remove the boots from the body model as she'll be barefoot in the finished result. Right click the model, go to set body groups and then L sock and click none. Do the same for the R sock. Because of the way unguligrade legs work, they'll need to be rotated down a little bit as well. So select both of the feet, then press Shift E to enter world rotation mode and rotate the feet down approximately 45 degrees give or take. Now we can start adding the hooves and we'll start with the left foot. Go to the leg controls for the pony model that you'll be using for left foot and lock the left leg 1 control to Bipfoot's L control on the body model, and then use the 0 slider on pause to move it to the general position. Do the same with left leg 2, lock to Bipfoot L again and using the 0 slider. Next you want to relock the left leg 1 control, this time to Bip Knee L. This will make it better for moving around later on. Now you lock the pelvis bone to the Bipfoot L and 0. Next you want to add a scale control to pelvis and scale it down to 0. I also forgot to relock pelvis to Bip Knee L before, so I'm doing that now as we need to move it further up to blend into the leg better. Now you can add scale controls to the left leg 1 and left leg 2 controls, and also to Bipfoot L on the body model. Set Bipfoot L to 0.05 and then set left leg 1 to 0.075 and then left leg 2 to 0.13. Next is the slightly annoying part because you need to align the left leg 1 and left leg 2 bones in a way that it covers the foot but it doesn't show the foot when you rotate the Bipfoot L control. Generally with left leg 1 you want to move it up a bit. The end of the jeans on this model is a good indicator of where to move it to. Then move it back a tiny bit and rotate it forward to cover the leg. Check it over in other angles to try and eliminate as much of the clipping as possible. For left leg 2 you want to rotate it forward to cover the toes and then move it down so it covers the ball of the foot. You also want to rotate the pony model's left foot control so that it becomes parallel to the floor, and I also move it up a bit so that the hoof is shorter, mainly just for better proportions and look. Now you should test the rotation of the foot, and in this case the ball of the foot is clipping through the back of the hoof when it's rotated, so it still needs to be moved down and back a bit more. So when it doesn't show any of the foot when it's rotating it, you can move on to the right foot, going through basically the same procedure and comparing with the left foot.
5 minutes later.
Basically, the majority of this process is trial and error with how to align the hooves over the feet. However, I will mention a set of numbers a little later that you can type in for the position and rotation of leg 1, leg 2 and pelvis bones that I found seem to work very well in hiding the clipping. And what I'm doing here is just posing the rest of the body and legs to make her stance look a bit more fitting for the unguligrade legs. Generally the knees are bent forward a little bit, as is the upper body. If we add a rig to the body model, we can see that the unguligrade legs respond to the rig like you'd expect them to, and because the hoof is locked to the Bipfoot controls, manipulating Bipfoot affects the hoof as well, meaning really the only thing that will need to be controlled from the pony models themselves are the end of the hoof. At this point I'll show you the numbers that I've found work well for position and rotation values of the hooves. For left leg 1, pause should be set to 0.4, 13.75 and 2, and then rot should be set to 90, 65 and negative 90. Then for left leg 2, pause should be set to 0, 0 and 2.5, and rot should be set to 90, negative 45 and negative 90. The pelvis pause values should be set to 0, 14 and 1.4, and the rot values don't actually matter since it's scaled down to 0, rot doesn't take any effect there. Right leg 1 and right leg 2 have the same numbers as left legs, but For the pos, the first number is inverted, and for rot, all 3 numbers are inverted. Depending on how you've set the legs up, comparing the plantigrade version to unguligrade should show that not much height difference has been made between the two. Now, I did mention before that the finished model will be bare-hooved, barefoot, bare-hoo, whatever you'd like to call it, but there is a way to put the boots on the unguligrade legs. To make it work and look right is another thing though. Eridicor made a set of EQG outfits for the pony models, which include the boots. And so what we could do is lock the boots from this model to the models used for the hooves, and then sizing down the pelvis bone to hide the rest of the dress. One might think this works in theory, but if we do so, we can see that there's a gap between the top of the boots and the bottom of the pant legs. It's because of this gap that it looks weird, at least to me. I don't know if you think the same, but at least to me it looks weird, because on the default Equestria Girls model with the plantigrade legs, there's no gap there. The jeans go all the way down into the boot. Instead of trying to maneuver the boots up to cover that gap, because it's nigh impossible, we can give the illusion of the boots going up further than they do by covering that gap up. The model for Wallflower Blush, also made by Syndrome, has jeans that have loose cuffs on them, unlike with the skinny jeans on Sunset's model. We can utilize these jeans to cover up that gap above the boots. To do this, we need to lock the Wallflower model to the Sunset model, using the zero slider on all the bones and flexes and such. And because we don't need anything above the legs, we can unlock everything above the pelvis bone and then size down the pelvis bone to 0. Turn off the shoes on the Wallflower model body grips because they'll most likely clip through the legs, and then add override materials to the model. Go into materials and look for jeans. It'll be misspelt with a C. Right click, add attribute, and click string and type $base texture. Copy the directory next to MTL name and paste it into the $base texture line, replacing Wallflower Blush with Sunset Shimmer, all one word. That'll give the jeans the same texture as what's used on Sunset's model. Other than making the boots look more fitting with an unguligrade anthro setup, it just generally looks better overall because it hides any clipping that the hoof makes with the original skinny jeans.
And with that, the anthro is fully set up, including unguligrade legs. Now this video is only about 6 minutes, 7 minutes, however long it is, but it took me 20 minutes in real time to get to this point. However, it is obviously much easier and quicker to do it if you know the numbers for the pos and rot values, so I'll also put those in the description below. I want to thank all of you for watching this video, and if this is your first video of mine, click the link here to have a look at my other videos. Until the next one, have a good one.